Everybody doesn't deserve access to your pain. You hear what I'm saying? Stop giving people front row seats to a story they were never meant to be part of. Some of you are losing your strength because you keep handing your struggles to people who can't carry them. You keep calling, texting, posting, and venting, hoping somebody will understand. But truth is, they don't care the way you do. They don't feel it the way you feel it. Some just want to hear what's wrong so they can have something to talk about. You're giving them a free show every time you open your mouth about what's breaking you. See, you got to understand something. Pain is sacred. It's not meant for public consumption. When you're going through the storm, that's not the time to broadcast it. That's the time to build through it. You ever notice that when you start sharing your struggles, people start changing on you? One day they're listening. The next day they're using your words against you. One moment they say, "I got your back." The next moment you hear your business from somebody else's mouth. That's why I'm telling you, everybody doesn't deserve access. Some of you are so hungry for comfort that you forget not every ear is safe. You think being transparent makes you real, but sometimes it just makes you vulnerable to the wrong people. You gotta learn to discern who's for you and who's just curious. Because when you start exposing your pain, you start giving people power over your peace. And peace is priceless. You can't let people disturb it just because you want someone to listen. Some of you need to stop letting temporary people handle permanent emotions. They can't help you heal because they weren't built for your kind of hurt. There's power in silence. There's strength in stillness. When you're hurting, you don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't have to post your pain. You don't have to prove that you're struggling. You don't have to let people see every battle scar. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to close your mouth and go to work. Let them think you're fine. Let them underestimate you. Let them doubt you. Because when it's time, your victory will tell the story better than your words ever could. You got to understand, your struggle is molding you. It's shaping you into something powerful. But that process happens in private. Think about it. A diamond doesn't form in daylight. It forms under pressure, deep underground, away from sight. Nobody claps for the diamond when it's forming. They only admire it when it shines. So stop looking for applause while you're still under pressure. Some of you are delaying your own growth because you keep exposing your pain too early. You want people to validate your effort before it's finished. But growth doesn't happen in the noise. It happens in the quiet. When you tell everyone what you're going through, you drain your energy explaining instead of enduring. You lose focus trying to get sympathy when what you really need is strategy. Stop trying to convince people to care. Stop waiting for someone to understand your grind. Most people can't comprehend your struggle because they've never carried your kind of weight. You gotta stop expecting empathy from people who've never walked through fire. They don't know what it feels like to be broken and still believe. They don't know what it's like to cry in silence, to pray through pain, to keep showing up when everything inside of you says quit. You do. You know, you've lived that, you've carried that. So why are you explaining it? Why are you giving them the keys to your emotional space? You don't owe them that. Protect your process. Protect your healing. Protect your journey. When you go through the fire and come out gold, they'll see the shine without ever knowing what it cost you. And that's how it should be. Your pain doesn't need to be understood. It needs to be overcome. And I know what some of you are thinking, but I need to talk to someone. Yeah, talk to God. Talk to your journal. Talk to that mirror. But stop talking to people who only listen to compare, not to care. Stop handing your wounds to people who poke at them instead of helping them heal. You don't have to isolate, but you do have to insulate. There's a difference. Isolation says, I don't need anybody. Insulation says, I'm protecting myself while I rebuild. Protect your mind. Protect your emotions. Some seasons, silence is your shield. When you keep your struggles private, you take control back. You stop letting other people define your pain, your timeline, your healing. You become the author again. And when you do that, something shifts. You stop craving sympathy and you start craving growth. You stop complaining and you start creating. You stop looking for comfort and you start chasing clarity. The moment you close your mouth and open your mind, that's when transformation begins. Because here's the truth. Your pain has purpose. Every tear you've cried, every setback you've faced, every sleepless night, it's all shaping you for something bigger. But if you keep exposing the process before it's complete, you rob it of its power. You can't rush healing. You can't broadcast breakthrough before it's ready. The world doesn't need to see your wounds. It needs to see your wisdom. So from now on, stop explaining and start executing. Stop broadcasting and start building. The people who are meant to be in your life will see your pain without you saying a word. The ones who aren't, they'll fade when they can't feed off your struggle anymore. Let them. Your silence will reveal who's real. Your consistency will expose who's committed. Your peace will prove who belongs. There's freedom in not needing to be understood. There's power in walking through pain with grace, with discipline, with faith. Because when the storm passes, and it will, you'll rise stronger, wiser, and more grounded. And the same people who whispered about your struggle will have no choice but to witness your success. Keep your struggles private, not because you're hiding, but because you're growing. When you're in a season of struggle, that's not the time to announce. It's the time to align. Too many people lose their focus because they feel the need to be seen. They want the world to know they're grinding, that they're building, that they're working towards something. But real growth doesn't need an audience. It needs discipline. It needs consistency. It needs silence. You don't plant a seed and then dig it up every day to show people it's growing. You cover it, you protect it, you water it, and you wait. Because growth happens in isolation, not in exposure. We live in a world that celebrates visibility, but ignores the process. Everyone wants to be known, but nobody wants to be developed. People want to post their progress before they've even produced anything. But when you're truly in the grind, when you're really locked in on what you're building, you don't have time to announce it. You're too busy becoming it. Growth requires privacy because the process is fragile. A dream in the early stages is like a seedling. It can be easily crushed by opinions, easily uprooted by doubt, easily destroyed by exposure. That's why you have to keep it underground until it's strong enough to stand on its own. You see, the greatest transformation doesn't happen when people are watching. It happens when no one's watching. When you're alone, wrestling with your thoughts, fighting through fear, pushing past exhaustion, that's where the real work is done. It's in the silence that you face who you really are. It's in the solitude that you learn to depend on your purpose, not the applause. That's where you sharpen your character, your mindset, your faith. Because if your growth depends on being seen, it's not growth. It's performance. And I get it. You want people to know what you're going through. You want them to see that you're trying. But sometimes that need to be seen becomes your biggest distraction. You start doing it for the approval instead of the outcome. You start chasing validation instead of transformation. But the real ones, the ones who actually make it, they go missing for a while. They disappear. They stop posting. They stop explaining. Because they know the seed doesn't grow when it's exposed to the elements too soon. It grows best when it's covered. You can't heal in public. You can't rebuild your confidence while explaining your every move. You can't grow if you're constantly checking to see who's watching. The best version of you will be built in private. In those quiet mornings when you're tired, but you get up anyway. In those long nights when you feel empty, but you push one more time. That's where strength is formed. That's where identity is solidified. Nobody's clapping, nobody's noticing, but that's okay. Because you don't need claps. You need conviction. You don't need followers. You need focus. Think about the seasons when you grew the most. It wasn't when life was easy. It wasn't when people were cheering for you. It was when you were struggling, when you were questioning yourself, when you had no one but you and your vision. That's where maturity happens. That's where perspective shifts. That's where you learn that growth doesn't require recognition. It requires resilience. And let me tell you something. If you can survive the private seasons, if you can stay faithful when no one sees you, then when your time comes, nobody will be able to take credit for it, but you and God. People will look at your success and say, where did that come from? They won't realize you've been grinding in silence for years. They won't see the nights you cried, the mornings you doubted yourself, the moments you almost gave up but didn't. That's the beauty of private growth. It creates a story the world can't manipulate because they weren't there to witness it. So stop looking for validation. Stop feeling like you owe people updates on your progress. You don't need to prove that you're working. You don't need to prove that you're healing. Just do it. Just build it. Just become it. The world doesn't need to see your roots to appreciate your fruit. But you can't have fruit without first going through the darkness of the dirt. The soil may not look glamorous, but it's necessary. It's where the transformation happens. There's a reason the caterpillar hides in the cocoon. It's not because it's ashamed of what it's becoming. It's because transformation requires isolation. If it tries to break free too soon, it dies. And that's the problem for most people. They try to reveal before they're ready. They want to show off their wings before they're strong enough to fly. You got to stay in the cocoon until your wings are ready to carry you. That means being comfortable in quiet seasons. That means trusting that even though nobody sees it yet, something powerful is happening inside you. Don't confuse silence with stagnation. Just because it's not visible doesn't mean it's not growing. Just because nobody's clapping doesn't mean it's not working. You're growing roots. You're gaining strength. You're preparing for your season of bloom. But that season will only come when you've done the private work, when you've mastered the discipline of focusing without needing recognition. So stay in the dirt, stay in the grind, stay in the dark if you have to. Because when it's time for you to shine, nobody will be able to deny what they see. The results will speak. The fruit will prove the effort. You won't have to explain. You won't have to justify. You won't have to post. You'll just show up, and your presence will testify. Growth happens in isolation, not in exposure. Keep building in silence until the world has no choice but to notice the masterpiece that came out of your private process. When you keep your struggles private, you keep your power. The moment you start telling everyone what's going wrong, you give away pieces of that power without even realizing it. Every time you vent to someone who doesn't understand your vision, you hand them the authority to define your situation. And that's dangerous because people will interpret your pain through their perspective, not yours. They'll project their limits onto your potential. That's why privacy is not weakness. It's protection. It's how you protect your dreams from people who can't see what you see. You have to understand, not everyone around you is rooting for you. Some people are watching to see if you'll make it or fail. They'll smile, they'll listen, they'll nod. But inside, they're waiting for the moment they can say, I knew it wouldn't work. That's why you have to be careful with your words. The more you talk, the more ammunition you give them. The more you explain your pain, the easier it becomes for them to use it against you. Silence confuses people. It makes them wonder. It keeps them guessing. And that's a powerful position to be in. Because when they don't know what you're thinking, they can't predict your next move. You ever notice that the most powerful people are often the quietest in the room? They don't need to announce their plans. They don't need to prove they're struggling. They let their work, their discipline, their results speak for them. And that's what privacy does. It puts you in control of your narrative. It allows you to manage your emotions, your focus, and your environment without interference. Because the moment you open that door and invite too many opinions, confusion enters. And confusion kills clarity. You have to protect your energy like it's treasure, because it is. You can't waste it explaining yourself to people who aren't even listening to understand. They just want to respond. You can't spend your time defending your decisions to people who never took a risk in their own lives. The more you talk, the more you drain yourself, the more you protect your silence, the stronger your mind becomes. There's something about being quiet and moving with intention that builds unshakable confidence. You start realizing you don't need validation. You don't need permission. You don't need everybody to get it. Privacy doesn't mean you're hiding. It means you're healing. It means you're growing. It means you're choosing to prioritize progress over pity. Some of you keep exposing your wounds to people who aren't capable of helping you heal. You tell them about your pain, and they tell you their own story to make it about them. You tell them about your dream, and they tell you all the reasons it won't work. That's not support. That's sabotage disguised as sympathy. And it's your job to protect your peace from that energy. You have to learn to keep some things between you and God, between you and your journal, between you and your purpose, Because when you talk too much about your struggle, you give the enemy information he can use to distract you. Some attacks only come because you revealed too much. Some delays happen because you shared your move before it was mature. Privacy gives you power because it keeps your next step protected. It keeps your focus pure. It keeps your energy sacred. People can't attack what they don't know about. They can't block what they can't see coming. That's why I tell you, move in silence, not out of fear, but out of strategy. Don't be predictable. Don't be loud about your process. Let them think you're standing still when you're actually setting up your next level. The more private your grind, the more unpredictable your success. And that's how you win. I've learned that the loudest person in the room is usually the least in control. They talk to fill the silence because silence forces them to face themselves. But when you've got peace inside, when you've got focus and purpose, you don't need noise. You don't need validation. You don't need to be seen. You're too busy working. You're too busy building. You're too busy transforming. Privacy gives you that edge. It allows you to move without distraction, to think without interruption, to create without judgment. When you stop sharing everything, you start hearing everything. You start hearing that inner voice again, the one that got drowned out by everyone else's opinions. You start getting clarity about your goals, your calling, your purpose. You stop chasing what looks good and start pursuing what feels right. You realize that not every opportunity is for you. Not every friendship deserves your vulnerability. Not every struggle needs to be shared. You start operating from wisdom instead of emotion. And listen, I'm not saying shut everybody out. I'm saying learn who deserves access. There's a difference between being private and being disconnected. You can have a circle, but make sure it's tight. Make sure the people in it want to see you win, not just watch you work. The fewer people who know your pain, the fewer opinions you have to fight. The fewer opinions, the fewer distractions. And the fewer distractions, the faster you rise. You gain strength when you no longer feel the need to be understood. That's the moment you take your power back. You stop wasting energy trying to convince people of your worth. And you start investing that energy into becoming better. That's what privacy does. It redirects your focus. Instead of telling the world what you're about to do, you just do it. Instead of explaining your hurt, you heal from it. Instead of broadcasting your setbacks, you study them, you learn from them, you use them. And when the time is right, you show up and let your success speak for itself. People won't understand how you kept going. They won't understand how you made it out. They'll wonder how you stayed focused when everything around you was falling apart. And the truth is, you did it because you learned to protect your peace. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped handing out your energy to anyone who asked for it. You took your power back by being selective with your vulnerability. Privacy gives you the space to build quietly and rise loudly. It's not about hiding your story. It's about guarding your strength until it's ready to be revealed. Because when it's time, you won't need to announce anything. Your results will speak. Your presence will testify. Your peace will shine louder than any explanation could. Keep your life private. Keep your power protected. Don't defend your pain. Deliver your purpose. Stop trying to make people understand what you've been through. Stop trying to convince them that you deserve to win. You don't owe anyone your story. You owe the world your results. Because the truth is, people don't remember what you went through. They remember what you produced after you went through it. They don't remember the struggle. They remember the success. And if you're too busy explaining your pain, you'll never have the time or energy to turn that pain into power. Let your results do the talking. Let your consistency be your response. Let your transformation be your testimony. Because when you really start walking in purpose, you won't have to argue for your value anymore. You won't have to prove yourself to anyone. You'll show up and your presence will speak for you. That's what happens when you stop trying to justify your pain and start using it as fuel. Every setback becomes a setup. Every disappointment becomes direction. Every failure becomes feedback. But none of that happens until you stop talking about what hurt you and start building from it. See, too many people waste time trying to get people to believe in them. They want people to validate their journey, to see their effort, to clap for their progress. But real champions don't wait for applause. They create moments that demand it. You don't need to post every move. You don't need to prove every grind. Just keep showing up. Keep doing the work. Because the ones who laughed at your struggle will have no choice but to respect your success. There's a power that comes from being misunderstood and still moving forward. There's a strength that comes from being doubted and still believing. Some of you are too busy explaining yourself to people who don't even matter in your destiny. You're trying to make small minds understand a big calling. Stop that. You can't get validation from people who've never walked your path. You can't expect understanding from people who've never carried your weight. You don't owe them closure. You owe yourself completion. Finish what you started. Let your results close every mouth that doubted you. And I know it hurts when people don't believe in you. I know it hurts when they talk about you, when they question your decisions, when they misunderstand your silence. But that pain, use it. Let it push you. Let it drive you. Every time someone says you can't, remember that your success will speak the loudest. Yes. Every time they overlook you, remind yourself this is temporary. Because when the results show up, the silence will turn into applause. The doubt will turn into questions. And the same people who ignored your effort will want to know your formula. But by then, it'll be too late. They'll see the outcome, but they'll never know the pain that produced it. That's the beauty of letting your results talk. Results don't lie. You can argue with opinions, but you can't argue with evidence. You can debate someone's words, but you can't deny someone's work. So instead of telling people who you are, show them. Instead of explaining why you're different, prove it. Because the moment you stop talking and start moving, that's when everything shifts. You take back control. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop defending your value and start demonstrating it. People always ask, how do I make them respect me? You don't. You make them see you. You make them witness your elevation. You make them realize that while they were busy talking, you were busy building. And when you show up with results, there's no need for revenge, no need for validation. The work speaks, the success speaks, the peace speaks. That's real power, being so focused, so committed, so consistent that your presence alone becomes proof of what you've overcome. You can't control what people say, but you can control what you produce. You can't control how they see you, but you can control what they can't ignore. And the truth is, when your results show up, they erase every doubt. They silence every critic. They rewrite every narrative that was spoken against you. So don't argue. Don't explain. Don't defend. Just execute. Keep building when no one believes. Keep showing up when no one's clapping. Keep moving when no one sees it. Because when the moment comes, and it will come, your work will speak louder than any defense you could have given. They'll see the change. They'll see the growth. They'll see the fruit. And they'll realize that while they were talking, you were transforming. That's why you can't quit now. That's why you can't get distracted by proving yourself. Your energy belongs in the work, not in the explanation. You can't win if you're constantly pausing to respond to people who don't matter. Let them doubt. Let them talk. Let them think you've lost it. Just keep building. Because when it's all said and done, they'll have to face the truth. You didn't need their approval. You just needed time. And when your season of results comes, you won't even have to say, "I told you so." Your life will say it for you. Your success will speak it. Your peace will prove it. That's what happens when you trust the process and stay committed to the work. You don't chase validation. You attract respect. You don't seek attention. You command it, because real results don't need an introduction. They make one. So stop defending your pain. Stop trying to convince anyone of your worth. You don't need to explain how hard it's been, how much you've lost, or how deep you've fallen. All you need to do is rise. All you need to do is show up different, stronger, wiser, louder without saying a word. Because when your results finally speak, they'll echo louder than any story you could ever tell. Let your silence build. Let your work talk. Let your success scream. Because the loudest thing you'll ever say will come from the life you built in private.